What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video and today with a guide for faction talents. Stage 2 was actually just unlocked there for me, so this symbol here has slightly changed, and with that of course the question for many people arises, which skill do you really want to go for? Which of those is the best? Which of those is maybe the best right now? Because we're in a little bit of a special situation, you will see in a moment. And which one do you want to pick going forward? So this question will of course be answered today. Before we get into that, 70% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel yet. If you want to support me, hit that button, and with that let's get into the first tree, which is the Lightbearer tree. Actually, this is my favorite one. It no longer does the same thing it did last season. All of these skills actually changed. Last season, the Lightbearer faction skill allowed you to cast ults twice, which was pretty cool. You could just get a double ult, which was super insane. This season around, in general, I feel like most of those skills got a little bit weaker in comparison to last season, which is not bad. This is okay. But this one is very, very interesting because what it allows us to do is summon Hypogean. If you don't know who Hypogean is, well, let me enlighten you from the starter story. Mr. Hypogean was the first, real character we actually meet in the story. Big, bulky warrior, and we now get to summon him into that. Actually, I personally was hoping he might one day become like a hero. We can get an rate up, because that's just such a cool hero to have. But never really happened. Now we get him in this skill, which is also cool. And he's actually super, super powerful, because the effect that he gets is he gets the HP and attack based on the stats of your team. So first he descends from the sky, lands in front of our team, deals some damage to the enemies, stuns the enemies, and he then gets 10% of our entire team's attack, which is not super high, but we get to buff that. And 100% of our team's HP, and then an attack bonus equal to 35% of our Prime Carrier's base attack, and HP bonus for 90% of our Prime Carrier's base max HP. The Prime Carrier is the hero you place on that tile, and usually that guy profits from pretty massive buffs. We can take a look at that in battle. So if we enter our AFK stages, the normal AFK stages still don't include the season talents or the faction talents, the talent trials do, so here we get to actually use them. And as soon as we have 3 heroes of the Lightbearer faction set, our Lightbearer tile is activated. We can see ODs just on here. Keep in mind, if you don't know about those faction talents at all, the enemy takes 40% more damage from our Prime Carrier, so from OD, which is pretty great. Once we start the battle now, we will see that another hero, which is Hypogean, comes down from the sky and will protect us against those enemy units. Not sure if this is the best team against this stage, as those guys will quickly dash past us, but there is our Hypogean. He is fairly tanky, I have to say. He is really fairly tanky, so he does lose HP of course, but if you heal him, he will actually quickly recover, and he is a little bit linked to our OD. When our OD does damage, this will actually recover HP for him, and you can see how effective that is to just have this extra tank there that is just free. You basically have 6 heroes on the board, and this was a super, super easy clear. And the team, by the way, is definitely a team I love. Pretty nice. We use Luca in there because he is a Lightbearer hero. We use Hypogean, also one of my favorite heroes, Rowan, Hewen for some extra heals, and then OD as our main damage. And this works really, really well. So, pretty great team, and you already saw how this works now. So definitely a cool skill. How do we enhance that, and should you enhance that? Does that make sense? So let's hop into the Lightbearer skill tree. The enhancements that we have here are always like 2 or 3 parts, depending on the stage you're at. One of which will enhance the damage of Hypogean's descent, which is not too great honestly, but you kind of have to enhance the full first stage anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The other one upgrades the extra stat boost of that he gets from our Prime Carrier, actually from 25 to 30 for the attack and 70 to 80. This is usually the stronger path. And then on the last one, we get this heal that I was talking about, heals by an equal amount equal to 90% of damage dealt by the Prime Carrier, so pretty nice, because we get to heal our tank a little bit more effective. He can use a ton of heal because he has a super large HP pool, so keep that in mind. For the second stage, this is actually my preferred pick at the moment. I will have to reset that. That is something that I want to tell you, because there are some considerations to make. The first one, that the upgrade should give you the biggest result for the moment, the biggest advantage for the moment. And for AFK stages, I feel like it's the Lightbearer Talent, because this is just an absolute madness, and we get one special skill on top of upgrading just our normal stuff that we already had before a little bit further. We get two extra things. First of all, we get the second buff tile. That is something we get throughout all of our skills on the second stage. And this is pretty great for this skill because, well, we have this skill that gives our Hogan stats from our prime carrier. Having two prime carriers means he gets stats from both of those, so super massive stat boost for our Hogan, potentially making him an absolute menace, maybe giving him super high attack, could be pretty great. And then there is something that I think is bonkers, absolutely insane. Reduces Hogan's damage taken by 40% during battle. And you know this from Fresto. That is something that makes Fresto insane, having the damage reduction. But for Fresto, that is actually just 30%. So having Hogan with the 40% potentially could make him one of the most insane tanks we have ever seen. And having that on the battlefield in an AFK stage where you just need to squeeze out a little bit more time to deal some extra damage could be absolutely insane. So, pretty insane stuff for PvE, I guess. For PvP, you could use it. I don't know if you would necessarily recommend it. I mean, you get a huge tank. That is essentially what you get. You get a huge, huge tank. And I mean, that is something you can build around. You could build a little bit of a sustain team, maybe. That could work. And if you want, I mean, for sure, you can use Hogan. I don't think he gets rivalry stats though, so that might be a little bit of a problem for PvP. I haven't seen too much Lightbearer stuff right there, so for that, probably not the thing. But I was talking about, like, the biggest advantage and why I probably will reset that for something else. For what will I reset it? Well, I will reset it for the Mauler Talent. Why the Mauler Talent? Well, the Mauler Talent team is actually at the moment, well, not the best faction talent, I have to say. Not the best faction talent, not that I super like it. That is something that I have to say. The base effect is like 4 seconds into the battle, the prime carrier, again the hero that we place on the slot, interestingly enough it is placed towards the front. We allow the prime carrier to mark an enemy that has dealt the most cumulative damage as prey. And then we start to attack that. Prime carrier teleports to them, knocks them down, deals physical damage. We get to knock some more enemies down, and we take 42% less damage from them, which could be cool. Take an example, we go into PvP, we fight, for example, a Wraec team, or any other team with some mean damage dealer. Well, we just get to place one hero on that tile. In this case it is Lily May. She gets Relentless Hunt, and she gets to pursue that damage dealer while taking less damage from it. And this can look pretty cool, though this team is a little bit insane, so we're probably going to get an absolute destruction going here with our Lily May. We saw the teleport right there, and she's not gonna let go of that one, of that prey. And it is a pretty interesting skill, to say the least. It's a pretty interesting skill because you can do some combinations with that. It can be good to kind of decide on the targeting of your heroes, because your hero that you place on that tile, well, we all now know, even if there is no targeting within the skills of the hero, we already know, well, he will go for the prey, and the prey is the enemy damage dealer that is dealt the most damage yet. 4 seconds into the battle, sometimes it can be that this is not the hero that you're looking for. Like, for example, we fight a Wraec team. Wraec hasn't managed to really kill an enemy, but maybe the enemy also has a Lily May. She could usually does a ton of burst at the start, so might be that she actually gets to be the target, while the Wraec you mostly want to keep from killing one of your teammates just is behind, well, is still not buffed, so doesn't really deal super high damage. But the good thing is we get some knockdown, we get some additional stats, which we had before as well, with knockdown damage. We have damage reduction against the prey. And the good thing is we also get life drain. So life drain is pretty nice, extra life drain depending on the HP lost. So we kind of may buff our hero once again, which is kind of similar to what we had last season on the Mauler Talent. The Mauler Talent last season was a little bit overlooked for the start, later on became an absolute menace in PvP, resulting in teams around basically every single Mauler hero. You put Mauler hero on your team and activate the tile, put a strong hero on this, like a Wraec, a Seth, something, and you were destroying the enemy. Now, it is a little bit weaker than that, but still fairly interesting playing around with this targeting mechanism. And overall, I have to say there is not quite the broken or insane skill on this second stage quite as we saw it for the Lightbearer Talent. The skills that we get here, a little bit increased knockdown damage, a very small increase to the damage reduction against the prey, and then here every 400% of damage that we take, we deal 50 physical damage to adjacent enemies, which I think is, I don't know, doesn't seem too insane. I mean, some extra damage, okay, we take it. Nonetheless, not that insane. We get the second tile, of course. I have to say, from all the stats that we get here, is the least impressive. I don't really see it. I'm not super hyped about this second stage. Nonetheless, this will be the stage that I pick because currently we have a Primal Lord, which I still need to make a guide about. But this guy, well, we fight him with a Mauler team at the moment, at least. Might change later on, but at the moment we fight him with a Mauler team, and thus you want to increase your Mauler's stats, or the stats where your Mauler faction skill is active as far as possible. So still something that we kind of want to think about. So keep stuff like that in mind when deciding on your skills. So 2 skills already done. The next one is one, again, that I quite like. Looking at the Wilder skill, this is a very cool one. Again, for PvP, super interesting. The effect is that the Prime Carrier becomes concealed, which is a new state that we haven't really seen yet, and one that I kind of feel like is a bit OP in PvP. While concealed, the Prime Carrier becomes invincible, so you can't damage him, you can't control him, you cannot target him, and he deals 90% increased damage with non-ultimate skills. And this lasts for 8.5 seconds, which on paper seems very long. In the battle, actually not that long, but might be enough to allow, for example, a Tarsi you place on that tile to get her energy full. And if you don't defeat any, and if none of your allies is defeated, well, this will still last for 8.5 seconds. It's not that likely if you don't run into like an Iron Burst or something that somebody dies on your team in the first 8 seconds. Unless your team is like a lot weaker. But this is fairly cool because we have this concealed state. Let's before we talk about all of this stuff, let's check it out. And again, Andre has to be our punching bag for now. What we did was we placed Odie on the tile, which I really like, is one of the cooler options. Odie or Tarsi I think are pretty cool there. I just hate fighting an invisible bloody Odie, because he stands there, he gets to his ult, he gets to cast his ult, and you already have the first ult on one of your heroes before you even can really act. So it's a horrible thing to face. You can see absolutely invisible right there, it doesn't take any damage, and can be countered by Lily May, which is a bit annoying. We're still invisible. Now we should get out of there. Oh, we are a little bit longer because we have the upgraded version, of course, forgot about that. But you see, just like invisible, we won just in the moment where he got visible again. So you can imagine what you can do right there. Extra damage for non-ultimate damage, as I said, he does a ton of normal attacks, so we got the buff for that. And still dealt an absolute ton of damage. The enemy could do barely anything against this guy. Lily May worked, but there is no chance you can CC him. There is no chance you can harm him in any way. That just doesn't work. It is absolutely impossible. Look at that, 0 damage taken. This guy took 0 damage. And now I wanna basically let you run your fantasies wild, what you can do in PvP with stuff like that. That is absolutely insane. You can run Tarsi, you can do everything. The buffs that you get, increased duration of the concealed state, insane, get that. And on the other side, we have the damage to the non-ultimate skill, which I don't think is that important, but you can still go for it. Then we have allows the Prime Carrier to enter concealed state for 3 seconds after assisting or defeating a non-summoned enemy for the first time. So as long as we keep defeating enemies, we stay concealed basically. Really nice. Again, the increase right there, damage increase. And then right here, we have a shield that we get. Not the biggest thing, but I mean, why not? Let's get a shield. We take it, not too bad, and we get the extra talent buff tile. I'm hyped for that talent buff tile. My god, this will be a PvP thing. Imagine 2 heroes already like invisible, and then you can build some cheese or something just using a Scalitas, not on the battlefield. You can use a Damien or something and maybe a Burial, and then have 2 invisible units that just attack the enemy. It was super annoying. I love it. So 2 invisible heroes, great. From my rating here, absolute great. PvP, in my opinion, you can use it in PvE. I mean, an invincible unit is certainly interesting there, but I think the more game deciding factor, or the bigger focus, is on PvP, and you can really place any hero on that tile and get a massive advantage. So great skill, maybe not the one you want to absolutely focus about. Then again, I mean, as we did for the Lightbearer Talent, again, we also have many teams that focus around Wilder, and I don't even have to plan this. Take a look at this. I can just copy And oftentimes they don't use this, I notice. Look at that. Like, oftentimes they don't use it. It would be so easy to use this tile and just place one of the twins on there, for example. And yeah, then you have one invisible twin. Problem with that, the other one isn't. The other one isn't. So you kind of have to decide what you do here. And I usually recommend to put like the pink-haired twin on there, because that is the girl, and she's going to run to the enemy. Of course, a little bit better if she then is invincible. Didn't really check if that guy can still be hit. It usually happens quite rarely. Yeah, it seems like it. So, interesting case here. You can still use it there. There are wilder units, but it's certainly, in my opinion, a bit less important overall. Though maybe if you place a body on there without twins, could be interesting. And I'm going to access this fight. It doesn't look like we win anyway, but also to get going and get into the next skill, because we have 3 done, 2 more to go. Next one, also a base one, Graveborn skill. Was despite, or was like you only used on the Plague Creeper boss last season. In this season, I don't expect it to be super popular, but it is a little bit better. What it does is it steals the enemy's soul. Rearmost non-summoned enemy receives the soul for our prime carrier, instantly loses 48% of HP, maximum is 800% of our attack, and we steal 9% of the enemy's attack. And over the next 15 seconds, the enemy will gradually recover the HP and attack. So what that gives us is an enemy that gets severely weakened, and we get a little bit of an attack boost. That is like the quintessence from that. Again, let's punch under a little bit. Okay, once again, Graveborn tile right there. We use Bonnie on that because that's pretty cool to do, as she also attacks like the same hero that we're going to hit with the Graveborn skills. So attacking that hero and bursting it down is actually the way to quickly dispose of one of the enemies. Starting this fight right now, the only problem is that he's using the Wilder tile. So, yeah, really doesn't lose any HP on that moment. So, bit of a disadvantage there on our side. I noticed that only after I set the team, but I thought it's an interesting combination that I wanted to show, because Wilder tile obviously invincible. Yeah, Graveborn pretty much gets countered by that. So let's fight somebody that isn't with Wilder tile. More beating of clanmates, Mega Fungi with not Wilder but the Celestial tile. So there we can do a little bit more. Let's see how that goes out. You can not see anything really. Which is a little bit annoying. We see our Lily May there losing HP quite rapidly in this team, and Bonnie over there. It's not quite that super flashy of a skill, I have to say. It's not like you suddenly have a Hogan on the battlefield or anything like that. So in that regard, a little bit more of a disappointing one. It can be quite interesting if you don't fight a Lily May that instantly, well, dashes all over the board. It's a pretty huge damage hit on the enemy, and interestingly enough, also a great combination with Bonnie, because what we can do here, when aging reaches its maximum stack or an age enemy is defeated, the effect spreads to nearest one unaffected enemy, and we can buff that to 2. So if you have a plus 10 Bonnie, just like putting aging on this rearmost enemy, and then instantly basically defeating that through a combination of a burst of a Lorsan, for example. Lorsan, you can link that, the frontmost enemy to the backmost enemy, which can be the same, and then maybe hitting that with a Sylvana or some other hero, just letting Bonnie do her work, and thereby defeating these rearmost enemy fairly quickly, can actually spread your aging faster, which is super cool, and some combination that I already showed in the video and definitely like. So what do we get on stage 2? Is it worth going for that? So it's certainly a bit cooler than the other ones. First, of course, enemy HP loss buff to 51%, which is nice, over 50% now. Attack stone to 12%, and then we get this. If the enemy's soul overseas is defeated, we get a soul explosion, which is a bit of an explosion of magic damage. Magic damage, always a bit of a synergy with Bonnie, so not too bad. Kind of like it, not like super game-breaking, but not too bad, we take it. And then we get the extra buff tile, which is really nice. I look forward to actually testing that, I have to say. I wonder how it works out. I haven't seen it yet. The thing is it like, is the enemy soul like stone twice? I can't really imagine that. I'd imagine they both just get the attack buff, which would make it kind of weak in comparison to the other ones we've already taken a look at. So this one has me a bit puzzled, had me a bit confused on that. If it of course means, well, we have 1 or 2% HP loss because we just steal the sword twice, absolute madness. It's insane. But I doubt that kind of. So it's a bit of one that has me a little bit confused on that. Could be insane for PvP. Is definitely one of the ones that I like a bit more for PvP. And that I think is pretty good, because we also got nice new heroes for this Graveborn faction with Valka, with Bonnie, and then of course we still have the existing ones. Ludovic, we have our Carolina, we have Thorin. So there are some very good heroes that we can use for PvP there. Certainly interesting. Last but not least, Celestial skill. Celestials last season were an interesting one. We used it basically the entire season for PvE, and we had a lot of fun with it because it had like this giant iron effect, this giant iron whirlwind pool. Was pretty cool. We no longer have that. It's no longer that cool. It's just a bit annoying. It's kind of strong still. When a battle starts, grants the Prime Carrier the Orgul's Blessing and restores their energy by 340. So massive energy boost on our Prime Carrier. Pretty cool. And after allies cast total of 4 ultimates, grants the Prime Carrier Divine Power, which increases their attack and max HP. So pretty nice. You can use that for some combo potential. The only real problem is you run into kind of, how should I say, you kind of an iron situation, where this pretty often gets countered out by an enemy Lilymay. So not that cool in that sense, but could be potentially. So here we just have a situation where we have Dunling on the board, we have our Dianel, Dianel will get the attack boost, and we can just see how that works out. Put a Ludovic there for some extra heal. Starting off with the Dianel, of course, we get the extra speed, extra boost there, and on 78 seconds we are already in the field where we can do our ult, which of course sadly on this one gets countered. Bit sad. Is this like super effective? I kind of like the idea of just having this super energy boost plus some extra stats, so it's not by no means like a bad skill. In general, the skills that provide us with certain boosts of attack or HP or energy, I mean, they aren't like the coolest, I have to say. The thing that I really liked about, for example, the last Celestial skill was you place it on the board, and the first time you see it in the video, it's like pulling all those enemies together and you really want to have it. It's difficult to get hype for 340 energy boost, but it is still a cool thing to have, even though it tends to make your hero get countered by Lilymay PvP. So is it like the super insane PvP thing? No, but I mean, if you have it and you often set 3 Celestials or Hypogeans in a team, I don't think it's a bad thing to have. So again, energy restored is buffed for the Prime Carrier. Then we have the Prime Carrier's attack bonus that is buffed. Here, of course, when the battle starts, we have the 100 energy restoration to all allies who are placed within 1 tile of the Prime Carrier during the battle preparation. So you can place some heroes close to him, get some energy on them. If you do that, with the Thorin, for example, like we did, we have a decent chance that he might get countered. And though in this situation, I mean, because of the Dunlinger, he wasn't able to cast his ult, so it can't get countered. Energy restoration increased, and then we have another increase to the attack power. This one is pretty cool. Increase of the damage of the Prime Carrier's first ultimate by 25%. So if you use it on something like a Dianel, you can make this first ult really devastating. And then we have a second buff tile, which I like in this situation. This is pretty cool. We get like 2 heroes that get this buff, and they get the energy buff, and makes this a pretty offensive, pretty active skill to go for, and a skill that will give your team a lot of early power to roll into battle, but also sustain it a little bit, because I mean we have the divine power aspect, increasing attack and HP, so not too bad. And once again, the base boost, we didn't really talk about this here, it is worth to talk about it. We have crit plus 6.9%, so this is fairly interesting. If you compare that, for example, here, it's execution on Wilder, energy on hit, Mauler, it's energy on hit, which, like, okay, we can use that. I think it's a weird choice for this. Haste plus 3 great, and on Lightbearer, Death Penetration, which I think would have been way better for like Mauler, but okay. And crit is something that we saw on the last faction skill as well. Pretty good skill, or pretty good stat to have, so is pretty nice. We get that on top of it. Like if I had to order them, number 1 for PvE, normal AFK stage fights, definitely Wilder, and then I think PvE wise, let's set Wilder, right? No, Lightbearer is the best. Wilder, I would say, is the second best. It's still pretty cool to have one hero that is a bit invincible. Number 1 in terms of PvP, I would go for Wilder, like madness, pretty insane stuff that we have here with the invisibility, absolutely bonkers. And then the other ones, I mean, there are combinations, they are good in their certain situations. I guess Mauler is again going to be used because we have such strong PvP Maulers, but not for the skill save. Like the other skills, I would say are kind of mid, even though they do have potentials, they are not like super bad. But for me, Wilder and Lightbearer, for both their respective content, both stand out. I personally will go for Lightbearer first. For now, maybe go a little bit with the team for the Primal Lord. We're going to make a video about that as well. And after that, depending on whether you want to have a little bit more PvP advantage or a PvE advantage, or if you even need a PvE advantage, I mean, we're still talking about AFK progress, where even at the stage where we just at, where we're pretty easily cleared, we already have enough for the next day coming. So yeah, I mean, if you really need a PvE boost, that's for you to decide, and largely probably depends on your account. Might even be able to go for the Wilder PvP thing. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And with that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.